All right, let's talk about a pretty bold claim today. The idea that you can go from being totally overwhelmed with information to actually landing your first paying client in just 3 nights. I mean, is it even possible to shortcut the struggle like that? Let's dig in and find out.
Does this sound familiar to you? You've got this big dream of working for yourself, of having an online career, but you just feel stuck. You know you're putting in the work, but that dream of launching your own thing, it just doesn't seem to be getting any closer. For most people, the roadblocks are surprisingly similar. There's that crushing weight of just too much information. It leads to something called learning syndrome, where you're constantly consuming tutorials, but you're never actually doing anything. Then there's the tech anxiety, right? That fear of complex software. And of course, the big one, the fear of rejection that just stops you from even trying.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the core problem, this online career dilemma. Then, we'll explore a system that's designed for super fast results. We'll examine the actual tools, like a pre-built website, dive into the mindset you need, and wrap it all up with a simple framework for actually getting clients.
Okay, first up, let's really tackle the fundamental challenge here. For so many people trying to start an online career, the biggest obstacle isn't that they don't know enough. In fact, a lot of the time, having more information is actually the problem, not the solution. This quote from a guy named Jumor, who's a graphic designer, just captures it perfectly. This is what he calls information paralysis. He'd taken all these massive courses. He learned a ton, but it was the sheer amount of knowledge that just froze him. He had absolutely no clear path to actually take action.
And this really shows you the two different paths, right? The old way is this vicious cycle. You feel stuck, so you learn more, which makes you feel even more overwhelmed, and you stay stuck. The new way completely flips that script. It's all about one single focused action, building a real asset, like a website. This forces you to get out there and start talking to the market right away, and that's what builds real momentum.
So, if learning more and more isn't the answer, then what is? Let's take a look at the system that's designed to replace that old way of thinking. It's all built on a philosophy of speed, action, and getting tangible results.
The absolute core of this system is the number 3. Not 3 months, not even 3 weeks, we're talking 3 nights. And that intensity, that's a feature, not a bug. It's this concentrated burst of activity that's designed to short-circuit procrastination and just force you to create something real before you have a chance to overthink it.
Yeah, the whole point here is to end with actual results, not just a piece of paper that says you finished. The goal is to walk away with a finished product you can be proud of, a real portfolio piece to show potential clients, and that incredible confidence that comes from having actually built something.
Okay, so how does this system actually work in practice? Well, the very first tool is a battle-tested website template. And this isn't about design theory or anything like that. It's about giving you a proven blueprint that takes all the guesswork out of the equation.
I think a lot of people can relate to this quote from Lloyd. You build something, and you just get this feeling that it's off, it's not working, but you don't have the experience to know why. A template solves this because it bakes in all the principles of what actually works to attract clients.
See, this template is built on literally decades of real-world testing. It enforces these rules that beginners often break without even realizing it. For example, someone might remove the testimonial section to make their page look cleaner, but in doing that, they're actually removing the single most important trust signal. Or they'll use generic graphics instead of photos of people, and bam, you just severed any chance of a real human connection. These aren't just design suggestions, these are client-getting fundamentals baked right in. But here's the thing, having the right tool is only half the battle. The other half, and you could argue it's even more important, is about installing the right mindset so you can use that tool effectively and actually push through when things get tough.
Zane's story here is so powerful. She's a marketing executive, she's successful, but the moment she heard the word website, she got this instant mental block. It was all tied to a fear of coding. This system is designed specifically to break down those psychological barriers and prove that you absolutely do not need to be techie to create a professional presence online.
So to do that, the program really hones in on installing 3 key mindsets. First, the marketing mindset, which is all about attracting interest. Then, the sales mindset, which helps you handle that tricky how much does it cost conversation. And finally, the successful business person mindset, which is about building resilience and understanding that rejection is just part of the game.
And this commitment to mindset goes even deeper. Students actually get access to what's called the anti-quit audio. It's this really unique library of targeted messages for those moments when you feel down, you face rejection, or you just want to give up. It's like having on-demand emotional support to make sure you see the whole process through.
So, you've got the right tools, you've got the right mindset. What's next? Well, we get to the final piece of the puzzle, a clear, repeatable process. This is the CLIENTS framework. And this framework is basically a simple recipe for getting a client. C is for catching their email with some kind of valuable offer. L is for locking in on solving one specific problem. I stands for island, creating a web page with 0 distracting links so they only have one thing they can do. And the rest of the steps, expert steps, no long stories, traffic, and simple pages, they all guide you to create this really focused, persuasive experience for anyone who might become a client.
And this is the result. This quote from a student, Kaya Copoletto, which means I can actually do this. It just captures the entire transformation. It's that moment of pure surprise and empowerment when you realize you've beaten the tech fears, you've gotten past the information overload, and you've created something real. It's just a profound shift in what you believe you're capable of.
So all of this really leads us to one final critical question. What if the solution to being stuck isn't to learn more, but to simply do more? Could focused, guided action actually be more powerful than endless information? Well, that's definitely something to think about.